This podcast is supported by listeners like you. We're grateful for your tax-deductible donation at newthoughtphilly.org or the link in the episode description.
A practical prayer is a prayer that works.
These discussions between Reverend Bill Marcioni and Carol Lawrence dive into the details of how it works and how to work it.
Reverend Bill is a New Thought minister and the author of Practical Prayer for Real Results.
Your new life begins with a new thought.
Carol Lawrence is on a spiritual quest, finding the New Thought teaching after decades on the pulpit in 3 different traditional denominations.
I've got some questions.
Together, they're exploring the philosophy and activities that come together from many of the world's religions to create the practical spirituality that is New Thought.
Welcome to the Practical Prayer Podcast. I'm Carol, here with Reverend Dr. Bill Marcioni.
You have a wonderful topic lined up for us today. In fact, it is a double topic.
Okay.
But I'm going to let you explain it.
Okay. So the thing is manifestation and feeling and how one speaks to the other. And this is how it was a little bit difficult for me. The human that I admired most in life and beyond was my dad.
Hmm.
And he was an incredibly serious guy. Like he had a sense of humor, but you wouldn't know it unless you knew him. And he just was, and so he could be friends with James Allen, because when I read James Allen, I thought, oh God, that was my father born again, right? So feeling is important. I understand that in the manifestation and law of attraction and everything, because it all works together. And so you're going to unravel that, I'm sure. But feeling is not something that's respected as important and, like a part of what needs to happen and be considered seriously in life. When you have something to do, you got to be like cold serious. And the reason that I mentioned my dad in the beginning, because he was just an incredibly serious guy. And I mean, I suppose he manifested okay. I don't know. He never talked about that, but I look at his life. Anyway, so that was the difficult time for me in making this transition, that pathway, because feelings was something that I was always taught to set aside. Not to deny that you have them, but they have no place in, the serious world of work and so forth. And also, there's no time for play. That's how I was. I was raised like, there's no time for play. You need to focus on whatever. So now here I am in New Thought with the rest of those of us who are crossing the street and facing this. This it doesn't plague my life anymore, but it does come up every now and then, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. Well, to quote Carol, that's a lot.
Oh no, it got said a lot. Okay, go ahead. I'm not sure that it's
in the setup there. You included a lot, and I'm going to wind all the way back to manifesting, which is the buzzword for using the creative energies in the universe to bring something new into our being, and it uses the law of attraction, which is another buzzwordy one, or the law of correspondence. And what we're doing is we are using the creative principle that creates everything to create something new in our life. And then we're labeling the thing that we wanted to create as manifesting. And it works. It absolutely works. It has worked since the very beginning of time. It worked when we quantified it, and Phineas Parkhurst Quimby, what a great name, in the mid-1800s did some experiments and proved that it worked and set out his technique for making it work. And the spiritual process that was defined by the people who founded New Thought. And then the way that if we're going to use it at a superficial level, it works for anybody without even being spiritual. So you can do it without feeling. And as I have mentioned once or twice before, it works beautifully right up until it stops working. And that is where the feeling part comes in with the manifesting. And your father probably would have been quite chagrined to know that it was actually his deep feeling, which was his faith, his conviction, his belief, that was activating all of the success that he had in his life rather than the disciplined thinking that he was doing. Because we are free to be mistaken. We are free.
That's
We are free to create good in our lives without really knowing how we're doing it.
okay. Okay.
So, and the feeling part of it is about connecting with our spiritual nature, with our internal faith and belief. And there's a difference between when you figure something out and you go, I figured it out. And when you know something and it hits you in your gut and you just know it and you feel it. And there are times when our intuition kicks in and we know something and we know it without knowing why we know it. Mm-hmm. And it's that deep internal feeling of, I got this. That's the one that's indicating our belief. That's the one that we have faith in. And if we focus more on the feeling, then we are actually going to be much more adept at changing the experience of our life, or to simplify it, manifesting.
Yeah. So let me respond to that with a confession. Okay. So
okay. Do I need to close the little curtain here or something?
No, but when I can see negative feelings, how they manifest into negative things, I can see that. And we all can. That's not a big deal, especially if you are from, the traditional church across the street, and you really pay attention, you connect it, and you look at what's really happening. There is no problem whatsoever in understanding how negative feelings and thoughts and moods and all of that manifest into crap. Or, the things in your life.
That's a spiritual term, right? Crap.
Yeah.
Okay.
That you don't want. Then there is, if there's truth in that, then there is the opposite of it, which means, good feelings and so forth, will manifest into good things. And I actually did it, but I had to make a really conscious effort. I'm telling the truth here because there may be somebody who's having problems with that. And I've seen myself do it over the years, a little bit. But then I decided, listen, and see, when I get sick and tired of something, that's it. And I decided,
time to go.
You know what? I'm doing this. I am doing this. And I experienced so many aha moments. And yeah, I just did. It works. I mean, it just works. There's a direct correlation. The thing that is sad to me, though, when I see and hear the negativity from others, and I see it bringing on crap and pain, and I can't help them understand the correlation between feeling and manifestation. Maybe that's what made me think of it in terms of a subject for today.
Okay.
Because it's real. It is real.
Yeah, there's a really simple exercise that you can do, and it's a thought experiment. You don't even need a piece of paper or a pencil or laboratory equipment to do this experiment. So, and I'm going to invite Carol to do this, and also anybody who's listening, you can do this as well. Bring to mind something that you do not have in your life experience now that you would like to have. And it could be something in terms of your health or vitality or comfort. Maybe there's some part of the body that's hurting. Or perhaps it's something about the experience of prosperity. There's a concern that there's not going to be enough, or it's not going to last long enough. We're not going to be able to pay for X, Y, or Z. As we were talking about pre-show. Christmas is coming up. It's September, but Christmas is coming up. And if you're already concerned about Christmas, maybe that's an indicator of where it is. But maybe it's about relationships, love, connection, family. There's something where it might be going along okay, but you want it to be going along better. Or your creativity, the ability to engage in a project and do something and bring some meaning into the world and into your life or into your neighborhood or wherever that's going to be. So, and it doesn't matter which area it is. Just bring to mind whatever it is that you are not experiencing that you'd like to be experiencing. And once you've got that in mind, step into the felt reality of that. Once you have that, how will it feel? How will you feel in your body, in your mind, in your state of affairs to have that desired experience that you're currently looking at from the outside? How will it feel to be living it? To have that comfort or health or vitality, or the doctors all looking at the charts and saying, well, we must have gotten the diagnosis wrong because you're perfectly healthy. Or the look at getting through with paying all the month's bills and still having a nice, comfortable cushion in the bank account. Or just peace and harmony and connection with your loved ones or with your community or whoever that happens to be. Or success in the projects, whatever. How does that feel to you? And bring that feeling into your body. You just notice where it shows up. Well, for a lot of people, that shows up in our solar plexus, in our gut. For some people, it can be a different area. It doesn't matter. It's just worth noticing. And notice that feeling of what it feels like to be having the experience is like. And then the question is, if you could have that feeling of success, of accomplishment, of peace of mind, without having the pieces come together the way that you have previously described, if you could feel successful anyway, if you could feel loved and loving anyway, if you could feel healthy and comfortable without having to go through the surgery or the process or the weight loss program or whatever anyway, does the manifestation matter? Or is the feeling of success and completion and accomplishment enough? There are a lot of people, the stuff that we do as a means to an end is the distraction. I grew up as a human doing. Everybody's always talking about what we're doing as opposed to how we're feeling. And our success was measured in what we've done or what we've accomplished. And it doesn't matter how much money somebody makes as long as they're making enough to cover their expenses and live a happy, joyous life. I can look at somebody else and say, wow, they could do so much more with their life, but they don't need to because they're having a great time. They're feeling good. They're in wonderful relationships. And the rest of it becomes judgment. So the difference between manifesting and feeling is that feeling is the goal and manifesting is the avenue to get to the goal.
But in a way, when you explained it, it was like the manifestation or the manifesting the thing that you want is negotiable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When we establish in our own awareness what that feeling of success and completion and arrival feels like, and we open ourselves to that feeling, and we can set some of the parameters, like this is about my work life, or this is about my relationships or my family. This is how I want to feel when I'm interacting with my family. It then matters much less what all of the individual players do. Do I need to be getting the respect that I think I deserve from the children who I've raised? Or is it okay if we just for some reason get together and in spite of everything that's happened before, we're having a wonderful time and connecting on a much deeper level than we ever had?
There's still that area of or specific that you want fixed or changed, perhaps. I was in conversation with I have to think of her actual relationship to me, but second cousin. And her mother and I were so close. Yeah, she was a little older than me, so I never knew life without her. Mm-hmm. And she passed a couple years ago, and it was really rough. But her daughter, when her daughter was born, it was so exciting. It was like I had a baby too. And we just, over the years, we lost touch a little bit. And long story short, we were talking the other day, and she told me about things that she remembered about me when she was little that I had done and blah, blah. And I was just, it's interesting because I was a little down about another relationship, family relationship. And when she told me that, out of the blue, like I remembered actually, I would have never come up with it. But as she mentioned it, I said, oh yeah, I remember that. But I couldn't imagine in my wildest dreams that would have meant that much to her.
Mm-hmm.
And it lifted me sky high. And it was great. The feeling was great and it was just wonderful. But there was still that other situation. So I got to feel good for a little bit. And I still do. I still do feel that way, but there was still the other one. So, I mean, how do you deal with that?
The other one, you mean all the time you spent not being in a relationship with her?
The other relationship that I was feeling a little bad about, and I just asked this one, my second cousin. I just asked her a simple question, and it just opened up a whole can of worms. Everything wasn't great. Most of it was funny. It was like, oh my God, can't believe that. But I wasn't the only one noticing the relationship that wasn't to everybody's liking. I wasn't the only one. And I thought, well, maybe I was, but no, so I'm not. But I'm still not terribly happy that that relationship isn't good. Now, I'm grateful that my cousin told me about something and how she looked at me over the years. I mean, it just made my day, more than my day, just working up for, just great.
Yeah.
But then there was still that little bit of something. So what do I mean, I had good feelings. I did. I agree. Isn't the whole thing supposed to turn around? Like,
supposed to? Who knows?
Yeah. I
mean,
know.
let's talk about the interaction with your second cousin, who was your baby when she was born, and then she kind of disappeared for a while, and there was this void of happiness, and it turns out later that there was something in the relationship that was really meaningful for her and really uplifting that you weren't aware of.
Mm-hmm.
So you didn't actually have to do anything. When the opportunity came along, it turns out that all of the doing had already been done, and probably many, many years ago.
Yeah.
And she's remembering it, but she's now just reflecting it back to you.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's possible that with the other one, there's something else going on. There's a missing piece that we don't understand yet. And when it eventually turns around, or when that piece comes gets fit in where it belongs, it'll be, oh, that's what's going on.
Okay,
that's
well,
what's going on.
So you say, what you're saying, I need to be patient because I have gone through every single thing that could possibly be something I could have done.
Mm-hmm.
It just, like maybe I blinked wrong once. I mean, I've gone through so much. And then I just got to the place where I said, you know what, I'm done. I'm totally done. I have no more energy, no more life energy for this. It's just done.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're saying is that when it's going to all turn around and there's going to be something like, you stepped on an ant and I didn't like it. I don't know. Just
whatever. Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. So I'm all out. I'm all out. And I was real happy with that, Then this other relationship came, revelation of what I meant to her. And I thought, well, that's good. That's good enough to go out with.
Mm-hmm.
The other one, I would certainly like that to be different, but hey, so if it doesn't happen at this point, I got nothing left for it. But so my feelings are not right. about that?
Your feelings are just right about that. And your feelings are, in all likelihood, the solution or the necessary step in what's going on with that relationship. So we can focus on, well, there's a problem with the relationship, and you know that there is, because you can describe it and define it and explain it, and there's like this feeling that's going on there. And you can dig through all of your memories and thoughts and ideas and understandings and try and figure out what's going on. And if instead you switch to, what is the feeling that you want to have with this person? Which generally is, I want to feel love for this person, and I want to feel loved by this person, and I want to feel harmony and peace and connectedness in my experience and in this person's experience and in the relationship between the two of us, and just see them in the light. See the relationship as love unfolding and an opportunity for more good to flow into the world, and just see it that way, and then see what happens. You don't have to be patient. You have to be present.
Okay. I'll see if I can.
See if you can do that.
I'll see if I can muster up enough energy left to do that. I mean, my cousin gave me I can't. I'd have to find the words because I wrote them all down as she gave me. But it was like, look, done. Some people, you gotta just let them. They love who's in your space, in your circle. She calls it a square, in your square, and like the rest just is what it is. And I said, you know what? Everything doesn't have to work out right.
Everything is working out right. It might not be the way that you thought it should.
Yeah.
So who knows what's going to change? Let's take a break and continue talking about manifestation, feeling, or manifestation versus feeling, or feeling has this score and manifestation has that score. I don't know. I don't know. Let's find out.
Learn to put practical prayer to work in your life. The steps are simple to learn and let you begin to get real results to create the life of your dreams immediately. Reverend Bill Marcione's widely acclaimed book, Practical Prayer for Real Results, gives you a clear summary of the New Thought principles behind practical prayer and the series of easy-to-understand steps found in the most effective prayers from religions and spiritual practices all over the world and throughout history. Practical prayer is not a replacement for your religion or practice. It's a technique to make the work you do in consciousness even more effective. The book includes 40 prayers on various topics that you can adapt as needed and use as your own. Practical Prayer for Real Results is available in paperback, Kindle, and audiobook on Amazon or at b-the-light.com. That's b-the-light.com.
Welcome back to the Practical Prayer Podcast. I'm Carol, here with Reverend Dr. Bill Marcione.
We're having a great conversation about manifestation and feeling. And my notion that they're two different things.
So, okay, you said they're two different things. And I'm asking, is the one, that is the feeling part, does that lead to or influence the manifestation?
100%.
Okay.
100%. It happens in the feelings, in the consciousness, in the awareness, in the intention. And then the manifestation shows up. And people say that it's because of the words that you use, the magical incantation. I am prosperous. I have plenty of money. I have my wonderful relationship. I have my perfect home. And it's by saying those words that we create or manifest the experience. And the words are important. The words are hugely important. But if we don't believe the words, it doesn't matter what words we use. And if we do believe it, the words don't have to be nearly as specific as the folks who are talking about how to craft an affirmation would be.
Yeah, I kind of figured that a little bit because way back, I found a workshop that I had done, years back, and I found the affirmations that I had given. I didn't know there were affirmations at the time, by the way. So we'll look at that. I'll tell you. But anyway, it was like just whatever. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. And I remember when I gave it out and how the response was. And now I'm looking at it. This is what I felt when I first discovered that handout. You know what? This was nothing, right? Because you didn't explain, because I didn't know at the time, it's about what you believe. So you could say these words forever. And everybody was excited. I'm telling you, I remember it just like yesterday. They were ready to lift me. I couldn't figure out what they were so happy about. It was like, really. I was like, this is cool, stuff to say. But I thought, I never talked about, do you really believe this? Because it's a feel-good moment, and I use that term a lot of times. People are having a moment, which is good. It's nice to have a moment. But it goes away if it's not in your belief system, And I think that's where the work starts, or the work needs to happen.
Yeah, and that's the point that I made, is that, manifesting and affirmations work right until they stop working. And they stop working when we hit the end of our intentionality and get into our belief system. If I claim something that I believe is possible, the affirmation is going to work beautifully. If I claim something that I think might be possible, then as long as I'm willing to open myself up and say, yeah, this is possible and it's possible for me, then it can work. And if I claim something that I absolutely positively know can't happen, then it will not happen, because that's what I believe.
Mm-hmm. I use these little things for myself. No big deal. I say, Carol, you really believe that?
Mm-hmm.
You really believe that could happen? And I wait for an answer, and I'm honest, right? You know what? Oh, I'm not too sure about that. So I have to, I'm not too sure about it. It sounds good, but maybe you need to dial it down to where you can believe it and work your way up.
Yeah. Well, and we talk about that when we're talking about practical prayer, getting back to the title of the podcast. The practical prayer is 5 or 7 steps in a prayer. And in the first couple, we identify the infinite creative power that creates everything and identify that we are part of it. So we're using that same creative power. And then we're going to say our affirmation. And the next steps are determined by what happens right after we say that affirmation. If we speak that affirmation from that place of power and authenticity, and a little voice in the back of our head says, I don't think so. Or, yeah, but you're not. If we hear something contradicting that claim that we've just made, that's huge. That little voice, as annoying as it is, because I just said, I am prosperous. And it says, yeah, but you don't have money to pay the rent. Yeah. I am loved. Yeah, but she still won't call you back. Yeah, I have my perfect work. Well, yeah, but the boss is a jerk and you're not going to lay everybody off. That little voice is an indicator of what we actually believe. And it's hugely powerful, because in the same way, do I really believe this? It happens as part of the process as well. Do I really believe this? Because if I don't believe it, if I'm getting a yeah, but, if I'm getting an objection in my consciousness, then I either need to go back and face that false belief, and there's some techniques for being able to do that, or I need to readjust whatever it is that my affirmation is, whatever that prayer is for, because maybe I'm thinking bigger. I want to be the most powerful person in the world. Well, yeah, but you're not going to ever do that. All right, well, how much power do I really want to have? I want to be elected vice president of the Block Association. Well, okay, that's more reasonable. Can I believe that?
Yeah.
and get ourselves to the point where we're setting an intention and speaking an affirmation that we can believe in. Do I have all the money in the world? No. Do I have enough money to pay the rent? Well, that's different. Did you want to be in charge of the Block Association?
Really?
Thought that was kind of funny.
No, but it made me think of something that I did want quite recently. And I thought, okay, Spirit, I know that I have all the right stuff to do this. I know I do. So let's see what we're going to do here. And there was something nagging at me. Anyway, a series of things actually I was watching on television, on YouTube. And I thought, I don't want to do that part. Oh, I don't want to do that. And I asked myself, are you being, obdurate? You being lazy? You being whatever? No, none of that. No, that is not, I ain't wired for that part.
Mhm.
And if that part is a major part of making it happen, you got to step back and say, listen, Carol, you better, redo your vision thing. Okay. Because this part is major and you are admitting that you don't want to do it. And if you don't want to do it, you're not going to do it.
Yep.
So, yeah. So, yes, I call that work, and I break it down because, yes.
Yeah,
You know?
I just think, and sometimes you just have to face who we are and what we're bringing to the circumstance. When I was in high school, I decided that what I really wanted to do was direct television shows, especially live television shows. Camera one, focus on this person, take one, then camera two, move over there, take two, and the person. And I went to college for it. And it turned out, after I'd been studying this for some period of time, that one of the key requirements of a successful television director is the ability to multitask, which I do not possess. So, and I didn't have access to a prayer technique then, but if I had prayed to be able to multitask, I would not have gotten that gift. What eventually would have shown up would have been the clarity of, do something else for a living.
Yeah. Okay. So, or how about this? The other people that you need to do the parts that you can't do are there or appear? Is
Even with that,
it?
I mean, for a television show, there's one guy who needs to be able to call all the shots.
Okay.
That's the job, and I do not have the widescreen bandwidth to do enough things at once to know what's supposed to be happening with the audio and the script and the titles that are coming up next and where the camera needs to move so it's ready for when the actor does what they're. I can't do that. I'm not wired that way. Particularly glamorous, a really cool thing to be able to do, and I wish I could, but I can't. So.
This is a quick story, and you made me think about this because I'm a writer. I write every day.
Mhm.
And I do nonfiction, and I can just bliss out on nonfiction. And so somebody said, you should write stories because you tell good stories. And I said, I can't remember characters. I mean, I'd get into chapter 3. And by the time I get to chapter 7, somebody's going to say, well, what happened to Fred? Who's Fred? I don't know. I said, no, you got to stick with what you know you can do.
Yeah. Got to go back 37 pages and kill Fred off so they don't ask again.
I ain't even trying. Knowing yourself is good.
Yeah, I completely understand. And I can't write fiction either because I always want to tell the end of the story. Right, 30 seconds in, I want to tell the end of the story. But that's me. Let's take another break and continue talking about manifestation and feelings. It's Reverend Bill letting you know that the Practical Prayer for Real Results class is now available on demand. That's right, you can take it at your own pace, anytime you want. All of the information is at bethelight.com. That's b-the-light.com. You know where to find that stuff. The class is 5 lessons, broken down into 18 modules, and you can take them at whatever pace is comfortable for you. As you work through the process, it starts out with the theory, goes into the practice, there are experiential activities and exercises, and at the end of the program, you will wind up with an understanding of how practical prayer works, and a practical prayer for yourself that will work to create transformation in your life. And as you know, it works for everything. Take a look at the class online at bethelight.com. There's a sample lesson so you can see how the class is going to work for you and then dive in. The great news is it's on sale now. You can register and save $20 off of the regular price. I'm looking forward to seeing you in class.
Welcome back to the Practical Prayer Podcast. I'm Carol, here with Reverend Dr. Bill Marcioni, who just got back.
I teleported back into the studio. That's true. Oh, just to be gleeful. We've been talking about manifestation and feeling, and it is a wonderful topic and juxtaposition of topics, because when we want to have a manifestation or we want to create something new in our experience, the key to it is the feeling of what it's going to feel like to have that as part of our life. Because if we can't imagine feeling that level of success or love or connection or satisfaction or prosperity, then we really haven't made room for it in our consciousness. So that's going to be
that term.
Yeah.
I like that, room for it in our consciousness.
We need to make room for it in our consciousness.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's so many times when I will be doing work with somebody who wants to have a relationship. I want to have somebody in my life. I want somebody to share my life with. I want somebody to wake up with and go to bed with and just like be my partner. And I say, is there room for their clothes in your closet? Well, no. Are you willing to clear out half of your stuff so that there's room for them in your closet? Well, I'd never thought about it that way. Okay, well, what are you holding on to? What else are you not willing to let go of to make room for this new relationship? Because then a lot of times we've made an assumption, of course I'll change everything when the right thing shows up. Well, start changing it now.
Yeah. There's a lot of bullets on that one.
That one's on semi-automatic. So let's do a practical prayer. And the practical prayer, it will be about the feelings behind the desires for the manifestation that we want to have. And I'm not talking about manifesting. I'm talking about desired manifestation, because that puts it out there in the realm of things that we can think about, rather than a success metric that we have of, oh, I've manifested this. Well, manifesting something means that it has shown up in our lives. And manifesting something is almost always the unfolding of the natural order of things, perhaps in a way that's completely unlike what had happened previously or what anybody had imagined could happen up until that particular point. But the manifestation is just a change in the trajectory of our experience. And what happens when there's that change? All the stories we hear about people who have had a manifestation or manifesting experience, they're talking about how good it feels. Well, let's start with that. Let us start with the feeling that we will have once the change has happened. Let us identify the area in our life that we are not currently satisfied with, or where we're yearning for more. And bring that into our awareness, and then turn away from the world around us. You can close your eyes if it's comfortable and safe to do that, so that we can just be with the idea of that new desired experience and feel what that feels like. How does that success, how does that relationship, how does that peace of mind or that physical well-being feel? What does having that experience bring in your emotional state? Is it peaceful? Is it joyous? Is it delighted? Is it happy? Is it calm? What does it feel like to have that experience in your life? And that's the invitation. We are inviting whatever the pieces fitting together might look like to bring about that feeling. And it might be exactly the pieces that we thought they were going to be. And it might be something so wildly unexpected that we never thought could bring about this feeling that brings the transformation into life. And this can happen because there is one infinite creative power, one divine source, one infinite essence, one love, intelligence, power, presence that shares itself as all of its creation. In the beginning, there was only the one, whether we describe it as God, as explained in Scripture, or the Big Bang, as explained by the scientists. There was only that one that began revealing and sharing and unfolding and evolving itself into everything that exists everywhere. That divine power and presence is everything that exists. It is everywhere, every moment, every particle, every planet, every person, everything. And that means that it's me and it's each one who is listening to this prayer. That infinite creative power is indwelling. And I know that it is already bringing about a chain of experiences and unfoldings that bring to each of us that feeling of success, of connection, of health, of vitality, of comfort, of peace of mind, of prosperity, of love, of harmony, of balance, of creativity that we are seeking. That feeling that we are inviting is already coming about, and the pieces are fitting together in a way that bring that feeling to us, that changes our experience, that transforms the experience that we're having. And good and more love are unfolding. And there's nothing that can stand in the way of this infinite power. This one divine presence is all there is. There is no opposition to it. So as we get ourselves out of the way, that infinite creative power is creating something new and transformational and wonderful for us. And it's happening now. I'm so grateful for it. I'm grateful for the transformation. I'm grateful for the awareness of the process. And I'm grateful to be able to speak this word and release it into that creative law that creates everything. Everything. And to know it now is creating this. And so I let it be. And so it is.
The Practical Prayer Podcast with Reverend Bill Marcioni and Carol Lawrence is a production of BeTheLight.com.
be-the-light.com.
where you can find more information about practical prayer for real results.
Our theme is by Music of Wisdom. You can learn about the spiritual community of New Thought Philadelphia with daily guided meditations,
Weekly celebrations of spirit
and Reverend Bill's classes in practical spirituality
at newthoughtphilly.org.
This podcast is supported by listeners like you. We're grateful for your tax-deductible donation at newthoughtphilly.org or the link in the episode description.